So it's November the 27th, 2022. It's about 20 to 11. So I'm going to send up boundaries. I'm going to invoke my rights. So those who are working for public service platforms understand the boundaries that you won't be crossing. Because there seems to be a lack of understanding. So I don't need any problems. I don't need anybody else abusing me. So, yeah, right. I mean, how many times have I invoked the Act for the Preservation and Enhancement of Multiculturalism in Canada? It starts off talking about the Constitution of Canada. Apparently there's a claim being made that every individual is equal before and under the law, and has the right to equal protection and benefit of the law without discrimination. Everyone has the right to freedom of conscience and peaceful assembly and association, and guarantees those rights and freedoms equally to all people. Apparently, the public servants in Canada have to recognize the importance of preserving and enhancing the multicultural heritage of those unfortunate enough to live in the Commonwealth. Well, I don't identify as a citizen, so the Citizenship Act doesn't apply to me. I don't identify as a human, so that garbage doesn't apply to me either. Oh, but here we go. Now it gets really good. Now we're talking about Canada as a party to the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. Is that right? Which convention recognizes that all are equal before the law and are entitled to equal protection of the law against any discrimination and against any incitement to discrimination. Yeah, right. International Covenant on the Civil and Political Rights, which Canada is a party to, apparently provides that my people, because we belong to an ethnic and linguistic minority, will not be denied the right to enjoy our own culture and to use our own language. So I'm going to try to dial my level of rage right back during this presentation to keep my audience in mind. I don't speak with profanity and I don't speak with vulgarity. I will utilize sentence enhancers when it's necessary to do so. For those of you who are unclear what vulgarity and profanity actually is. So if you haven't read the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, now why I need to invoke that international convention is because I belong to a race that's hated and persecuted. And we're constantly being murdered through acts of genocide. 2 acts of genocide have been leveled against my family in less than a decade. And I'm in the process of trying to find relief and remedy, which is why I am making public service announcements to let you know that there's a problem, because there is a problem. So I'm looking at Article 5 of this International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. So apparently the public servants who pretend to be the province of British Columbia and who pretend to be the federal government of Canada have to undertake to prohibit and to eliminate racial discrimination in all its forms and to guarantee the right of everyone, without distinction as to race or ethnic origin, to equality before the law, notably to the enjoyment of the following rights: right to equal treatment before tribunals and all other organs administering justice, the right to security and protection by public servants against violence, bodily harm, whether inflicted by pigs are persons in government, or by any individual, group, or institution. Now that's interesting because last year, on this date, after healing a little bit, after being forced evicted from my stolen property on March 19th, 2020. I went to those who pretend to be the District of Saanich law enforcement. And I was violently, viciously assaulted, not once but twice, trying to report crime. Act of genocide against myself. Now, those assaults were recorded, and those assaults are up on my social media platforms. So then this thing goes on to say that I have the right to take part in this satanic cult pretending to be the government, as well as in the conduct of public affairs at any level, and have equal access to public service. Strange that right is never afforded to me, because I'm constantly being violently, viciously attacked by the pigs. I was again assaulted on November the 6th by 2 pigs who came to the door here. 2 Saanich pigs were sent to the door by some satanic savage sergeant who will be named and will be held responsible for aiding and abetting genocide. That sentence carries life imprisonment. And you're going to fucking stop assaulting me, because that's my property and it's been stolen and there's trespassers on my property. So why for the last year have you pigs continued to come and assault me? Satanically, ritually abuse me, and I've caught most of these assaults. I've got them recorded. So it's not like you can lie. And were the 2 pigs on November the 6th, did they have their body cams on? Because you are recording these satanic rituals, aren't you? Unfortunately, my recording device malfunctioned 12 seconds into the satanic ritual, where 2 pigs are at the door, intimidating me, threatening me, assaulting me, committing a hate crime. Well, you don't need to explain who you are and what you are, because I know exactly who you are and what you are. Isn't that right? Mindless maggot mayor, Fred Hayes. So apparently I've got other rights here. The right to freedom of movement and residence. Well, then why am I still out of my house? I've got the right to leave this fucking hellhole and to return back to my own kingdom. I've got the right to own property alone. I've got the right to inherit. I've got the right to freedom of thought and conscience. I've got the right to freedom of expression. I've got the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. So when I go and I report crime, and I report money laundering, and I report genocide, and then I'm viciously, violently assaulted, that's not peaceful assembly, and that's not peaceful association, because I don't have any lies to tell. I'm not a liar. That's not my native language. That's the native language of those who are hired to be pigs, persons in government. I know I'm assaulted by them constantly. So apparently here, those who pretend to be the provincial government of BC and the federal government of Canada, you have to ensure to everyone within your jurisdiction effective protection and remedy through competent national tribunals and other Commonwealth institutions against any act of racial discrimination, which violates my rights and my fundamental freedoms, contrary to this convention, as well as the right to seek from such tribunals just and adequate reparations and satisfaction for any damage suffered as a result of such discrimination. Now, I tried that when I filed a notice of civil claim, and there was 2 satanic rituals run against me to keep me from receiving justice. Now, I can explain why, and we're going to get into that right now. Because there's been a problem with the persons acting as the YouTube team. Isn't that right? Because you're obviously listening. You've let me know repeatedly that you're listening. And why are you listening? What do you have to do with this? Other than to discriminate against me and prove that you hate me as well, which is what you've done. That's why you put age restrictions up on my videos, on my uploads, on my public service announcements. But you haven't called the authorities to let them know that you're listening to a crime in progress? So then you're aiding and abetting these hate crimes as well. Let me explain something to you. I'm not the slanderer, I'm the slandered. I'm not the defamer, I'm the defamed. I'm not the criminal, I'm the victim. I'm not the problem here, I'm the solution. That's why I'm taking the time to create these public service announcements, which I don't like doing. Because most of those in the world are blind and deaf, right? And we're going to get into that right now. Because the older I get, the more I see how women are described as having gone mad when what we've actually become is knowledgeable and powerful and fucking furious. I tell you what, if you're paying attention, you're outraged at the level of wickedness that's happening right now in the days of Noah. For those of you who don't understand who I am, my native language is scripture. So there's a war going on between myself and the children of the devil, and this has been happening for close to 5 decades. So I suffer from chronic trauma, and that has a number of different physical issues associated with the constant trauma that I have to go through because of the hatred this world has for me. And yeah, we're rare. We're a rare breed. And I get that you're not going to understand me, most of you. But bless you if you do, and bless you if you listen, and bless you if you share what's happening with others. Because we all have a responsibility to make sure that injustice has a remedy. You need to care about what's happening to your neighbor, because that's a requirement for the living and for the dead. For those of you who don't understand, the law applies to both the living and the dead, and that is the standard for judgment. It sits on the witness box of every courtroom. Why do you think it sits there? Do you think that's a coincidence? It's not. So on page 2 here, I have provided a witness to my character from when I was a child. I began working when I was a child, and there was testimony provided to the content of my character. So even children are known by the way they act, whether their conduct is pure and whether it is right. So, of course, there's another who testifies about me, and that testimony is true because you do realize that you must have 2 or 3 witnesses of the truth to establish the truth. In the first paragraph, there is witness provided that I at 14, then was mature and remained throughout those years, mature beyond my years. Now, why would that be? Well, it's written why that is. Because I have lived in the house of mourning my entire life. So Scripture was, is, and always will be the diagnostic and statistical manual. And that's how I know who I'm dealing with. Because you're one or the other. You're one or the other. You can only be one of the two. You can only be one of the rare living, or you're one of the dead. So my brother he's explained all of this when he was here. And now you've moved into this season that revolves around this alleged date of my brother's birth. So apparently my brother is the entire reason for the season, right? And yet I know you don't know him. I know you know nothing about him because I can see and I can tell that you don't listen to a word that he says. So when he was here 2,000 years ago, he tried to explain that he was from above. Now at that time there was no way for science to have proven what he was saying. But today in the age of information, it is now proven that those with Rh-negative blood Rh-negative blood has no earthly origin. That's exactly what he was trying to say. My brother is a Levite. Moses is a Levite. Daniel would have been a Levite. John the Baptist was a Levite. I have Rh-negative blood. I've proven that to you before. I'm not from this world. I was sent down from above to be a witness to the wickedness of my generation because my Father requires 2 witnesses. He is one witness, and then his children his chosen children, are the second witness. So unless you're born from above, unless you have Rh negative blood, there's no way you're going to be able to perceive the kingdom of heaven and the Father's will. And that's what I'm down here to make sure happens. The will of my Father. We all have the same job. We all have the same job to do. This isn't about me. It's about bringing glory to the one who sent me here. That's why I go through all of this hell. And trust me, it's fucking hell. Like, you don't have a fucking clue the shit that I have to put up with. The fucking ugliness and the fucking violence and the fucking lies constantly. The slander, the defamation, the theft, the destruction, the constant fucking violent attacks, the rapes, the destruction of my entire family, the rejection, the isolation. So again, my brother's explaining when he's here. So when he was here, he's having to address those who are from below. And he's trying to explain, okay, so you're from here, you're from down here, I'm not from down here. That's what he's trying to tell you. So our level of understanding would not be the same as those who are not like us. So I'm trying to converse with those of the world. And that's why they speak from the world's perspective, and the world listens to them. But my people are from the truth, and whoever knows the truth listens to us. Whoever is not from the truth is not going to listen to us. That's how we discern who we're dealing with. And this is all explained. And then my brother says something, just absolutely, he sounds crazy, right? That's why he's accused of being mad when he's here. And I've been accused of the same thing. I've been slandered and defamed the same way he was. He explains that I have authority. I'm in authority. I've got all power of absolute rule. Well, right, because at some point in our lives, we learn and understand who we actually are. When you go into a whorehouse here in the Commonwealth, do you notice that the witch who comes out walks up 3 stairs and then all of a sudden is sitting above all the others in the room? They've given themselves fictional authority by sitting above. It's fictional authority, like they don't have it. You can't just give yourself authority when you're a child of the devil. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. The dead don't have jurisdiction over the living, I'm afraid. So in the courts of law for the living, where I come from, you have to go to the Levitical priest and to the King of Kings, who is the judge, and you have to inquire of them, and they give the verdict in the case. And you can't turn aside to the right or to the left. Now, every prophet who came after Moses came, Isaiah and my brother, they say that. That's why my brother is making the claim that it's a narrow road to get into the kingdom. You can't turn to the right or to the left. Everything out of my brother's mouth is the way, the truth, and the life. That's what he's down here to teach and preach. And that's why he's hated. That's why he's murdered. That's why he's slaughtered. Because the dead hate the living. I mean, that's exactly what's going on there. And so it's the living, the ones who come from above, that, instinctually, obviously, are the ones in authority. It's not the other way around. Right, so I'm going to put this document in the description box of the upload. And you hit on the links for learning, because I'm a teacher. That's what I do. I teach life for those who are interested in eternal life. Because there's nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and there's nothing hid that shall not be known. We're whistleblowers. We're trumpet blowers. You get it? So exactly what my brother experienced when he was here, that's exactly what I experienced too. So again, so the question would be, has not Moses given you humans legally defined as monsters the law? Yet not one of you witches keeps the law. Why are you public servant pigs? You Freemasonic freaks, covens of corruption acting as bankers, solicitors, the court, law enforcement, and all the rest of you trying to murder me. You know, you got rules against that kind of behavior. You have duties, obligations, and responsibilities as a public servant. What you don't have as a public servant are rights. You don't have the right to continue to assault me, or keep me off my property, or intimidate me, or violently assault me, or threaten to murder me, which you're constantly doing. So again, in Matthew 24:9, then you chosen, ordained Levite woman of the peculiar people, they call me Victoria, I'm going to be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. Okay, so my son was abducted in 2009, and the act of genocide was completed in 2012. That's murder. That's an act of murder. Now my house has been stolen and every fucking dime embezzled. I've been raped repeatedly. Those are all acts of murder. The intention is to murder me. That's the intention behind all of these acts of discrimination. Because apparently I don't have any rights here. Because of the hatred of the pigs who keep attacking me. So John 8:47, whoever belongs to the truth hears what the truth has to say, right? And the reason why all these satanic savages, they don't hear me, is because they don't belong to the truth. They're the walking dead. They're fucking zombies. They're zombies. So in 1 John 4:6, we the peculiar people, the remnant sent from above, were sent by the truth. Whoever knows the truth listens to us. Whoever is not of the truth, well, it's like fucking talking to a wall. I actually said that in one of the whorehouse satanic rituals I went through when I went in there to get some money after they stole everything from me. And the witch sitting on the Freemasonic fucking bench of bullshit. It literally like talking to a wall. It's guilty of genocide. Yeah, I'm afraid you are, and yeah, we know your name. We're going to get to you a little while later. So my job, to make sure the blood of the dead isn't on my hands, I have an obligation, duty, and responsibility to say something. I have to say something. I'd prefer not to say something. Trust me, you know, because it's a fucking lesson in futility, is it not? To speak to the dead? To speak to those who don't care about their neighbor and what's happening to their neighbor? My brother was here and he boiled it down to two laws for you. You got to love the truth more than you love anything else. Then and only then can you love your neighbor like you love yourself. And that's not happening anymore, anywhere, that I can see. And just be aware that those who receive us, receive the one who sent us. So keep that in mind. Because whoever listens to me, listens to the one who sent me here. And whoever rejects me has rejected the one who sent me here. And you've identified yourself and you are going to go to hell. And you better fucking do some research on where you've made your reservation. That's your responsibility as one of the wicked. Because on this side of eternity, you have an opportunity to change what you're up to. On the other side of eternity, that's it. You're fucking finished, right? You're done. There's nothing that can be done for you. That's why we warn you now. We, the remnant, the ones from above, the ones the world hates. We have to warn you now. Because everyone who rejected what we taught you and what we're trying to say to you, what we said to you is your judge. That's what will judge you. And in Luke 21:15, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all those opposing you will not be able to resist nor to reply to. I tell you what, I don't come from a race that argues. That's the language of the witch. That's the language of the dead to argue. Why do you think my brother explains that you have to become like a little child to enter the kingdom? Because when a child hears the truth, they know it's the truth. 1 + 1 = 2. That's the truth. You can't argue that. You can't change that. Because the first point of wisdom is to discern that's what is false, and then the second is to know what's true, right? And there's no way you can know what's false unless you know the truth. That's why you'll never find one of the peculiar people sitting inside a synagogue, a mosque, or a church. Ever. We know that's witchcraft. Yeah, it is. It's witchcraft. So if you're involved in any of that witchcraft, I suggest you come out. That's my counsel to you, to come out. So, right, and exactly like my brother said in Matthew 23:34. So, he's already explained to you that I'm coming, just like Moses explained that my brother was coming, and all the rest of them came. When I was 12 years old, I started to explain my son would come, and he did. 18 years later, my son arrived. He's one of the peculiar people. That's why he was abducted from me. So he can experience the same hell that I've experienced my whole life, being sold, which is a death penalty offense, by the way, for those of you who are guilty of that act of genocide against myself and my son. I'm coming for you. Oh, you fucking rights I am. I will be practicing my culture all over your fucking ugly face. Yep, I have that right. And you didn't have a case on me. You had nothing on me except your fucking lies and your racism and your defamation. So here we go. So I'm sending you prophets, right, exactly. Hi, have I introduced myself to you? And the wise and the scribes. Now, have you done any research into the INFJ personality type? They're 1 to 3% of your population. That's me. We're writers. That's what we do. We write. Yeah. We've already established my wisdom. And yet I'm being murdered, I'm being crucified, I'm being constantly violently assaulted, and I'm constantly being persecuted. Okay, so they've come for my house and they've stolen all the money. Well, what the fuck is going on there? Well, one of my brothers gave that prophecy thousands of years ago. They covet fields and they seize them. They want your fucking house, so they just come and take it. They have defrauded me of my property and they've stolen the entire inheritance, exactly like it's written. And who did that? Well, who are they? Well, who the fuck are they? Well, yeah, they're fucking Walking Dead predators. Perverts and parasites posing as CIBC, the CIBC liars, the BC police, the BC attorney generals, all the politicians knew. And then you've got covens of witches acting as the BC Supreme Court, all involved in this act of genocide, all knowing that they can't do that legally. Because the deceiver's methods are evil. They dream up evil plans to ruin the poor with lies, even when I am in the right. And fuck I was. I'm going to get into that here. I boiled it right down to the bone, right down to the marrow of the bone for everybody. Her officials, what is that? That's the whore of Babylon. Right? These are the Babylonians. These are the beasts of Bedlam and Belial that I'm dealing with. They are not men and they are not women. They are fucking animals. They are humans, legally defined as monsters and freaks. That's who's come from my house. Oh, you'll get to see their faces. You're going to get to see their names shortly here. Within her are like wolves. Oh, okay. See what I'm saying? Why do you think my brother was down here calling them by animal names? We have eyes that see and ears that hear. We know exactly what you are. Before you even open your fucking mouth. Or even open your hole, we know who you are. We know your game before you play it. Yeah, I'm fucking afraid so. How much do you know about my brother? There's 4 witnesses. 4 witnesses. You go in there and you learn all about my brother and the skills and abilities we have. We know what you're thinking. So they're murdering, they're destroying lives for dishonest gain. Oh, okay. Well, perfect. So in Ecclesiastes, it's written, and it's so true. You know, I saw the tears of the oppressed, with no one to comfort them. The witches have great power, and their victims are helpless. Well, there you go. There's my life in a nutshell. That's another reason why I live in the house of mourning. So I want you to go in, and I want you to push the customer reviews, the customer service reviews for CIBC, because there's review after review after review explaining how disgusting these fucking savages actually are. right? Because now I'm going to teach you the law. I'm going to teach you the legal rules that were not followed at all in my life. And oh my God, I haven't grabbed a document that I need here. So just 1 second, I'm going to grab this thing so I can read it to you so you understand what's going on. Give me 1 sec. Because, I mean, this trust is 2 pages long. And, I mean, it's pretty obvious once you realize why it says, what's going on. Because there's 2 types of trusts in Canada. 2 types of trusts in Canada, right? So here's the trust here. So you're going to see my name and you're going to see my spouse's name on here because my spouse is the one who created this trust. And so it's important that you understand point number 3 because it says that I give to me all of the property of every kind and wherever located. Right? In administering the property, I can convert or retain the property as set out in paragraph 4A, which says, in addition to all powers conferred by law. Now, it talks about law. It doesn't talk about legal fucking rules. It doesn't talk about the legal rules. It doesn't talk about acts. It talks about the law. I have the right and the following powers that I can exercise or not exercise at my discretion for the administration of the property and the other beneficiaries. That's what it says. So I can convert the property or any part of the property into money and decide how and when and on what terms. And I can keep the property or any part of the property in the form it is at my spouse's passing and for as long as I decide, even for the duration of the trusts and the will. This power applies even if the property is not an investment authorized under the will, a debt is owing on the property, or the property does not produce income. So what this means is our home, which we purchased in 2003, cannot be touched. It cannot be touched, even if there's a debt owing on the property. This is crystal clear. And now part B, which is also important, it says that I have the right at any time to compromise, to settle, to waive any claim due to or due by the estate for whatever consideration and whatever terms I decide. I can decide to extend, continue, or renew any evidence of any liability that he may have had as endorser, guarantor, surety, or otherwise for any liability of any person. So you can't come and steal the house. It's crystal clear if you understand what I just read to you. So this is my spouse here. So he's not just a name on a page. He's not just a name on a page, he's a man. And he's a man whose life I witnessed for over 20 years. And I don't give false testimony about anybody at any time for any reason. For over 20 years, I saw that man pay a bill either before it was due or when it was due. He never once, not ever, missed a bill payment. Ever. And he always took care of business. He worked for the same company for 50 years. That's the content of his character. And only a righteous man could love me because this world hates me. And he did. He never wavered on me once. He was present for every single major important event in my life up until the time that he passed. So the difference between an absolute gift and a conditional gift. An absolute gift is the gift of property that gives the recipient complete possession and control over the property. Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly what he did. Transfer ownership of real estate. So one of the easiest things for creditors to target in a lawsuit is your house. And so you have to plan for that to go down, right? Because the profiteering parasites and the poisonous predators, they're your BARf members. Yeah, your BARf members. Spewers of fucking vomit and fecal matter everywhere. Members of the BARf. So the most common technique is to hold real estate in a spouse's name if they aren't subject to the same liability risks, or to register the real estate in the name of a trust. Well, that's exactly what he did. And he did that on the January the 27th, 2016. That's exactly what he did. Right? So in one of these court cases, it has been claimed that the beneficial owner of property is the real owner of the property, even though it might be in someone else's name. So here on page 12, I've explained, what does in trust mean in real estate? Well, a trust is used to transfer the administration of personal or real property to another for the benefit of a third party. That means that the property belongs to the person who transferred it. So on January the 27th, 2016, my spouse owns nothing. He owns absolutely nothing. Oh, a trust fund, right? Now we're on page, what a trust fund, and it's a estate planning tool that establishes a legal entity to hold property or assets for another. What is an estate trust in Canada? A trust is created when you transfer ownership of your assets to a trustee, with instructions for them to use those assets for the benefit of a beneficiary. The individual, institution, trustee, or estate you choose to give money, property, or other benefits to when you pass, right? A trust, what's a trust? It's a fiduciary relationship in which one party, known as the trustor, gives another party, the trustee, the right to hold title to property or assets for the benefit of a third party, the beneficiary. Right, exactly. So why would you purchase a trust? Or why would you purchase a last will and testament? Well, the main benefit of putting your home into a trust is the ability to avoid probate. Now, do you understand when I read to you part 4B? Why probate is not required for my matter, for our home, for our estate, because it says right here that I can waive any claim due by the estate. I can waive that claim because I have the power to do so. My spouse has put his wet ink signature on a trust fund that says I have the right to waive any claim due by the estate. And that's why probate has never been required for my matter. This is a private family matter. And there's not a BARf member, not a profiteering parasite, or a poisonous predator that can come in and demand that I file a probate. And this information is everywhere, and there's multiple witnesses to that truth, and you can read that in the small paragraph at the bottom of 14. Living trust. What is going on here? What's a living trust? Well, it's a will, right? A legal document or a trust created during my spouse's lifetime where a designated individual, that's me, is given responsibility for managing the individual's assets for the benefit of the eventual beneficiary. Well, I'm his spouse, and I have the same rights as legally married persons here, according to the BARf members in BC, who made that legal in 2013. So now, why would you create a family trust? Well, it's to manage probate. With a living trust, your assets are not considered your assets. They're the trust's assets, and they don't form part of your estate. It's the same thing when you have RRSPs with a bank. If you've named a beneficiary, those RRSPs are not considered part of your estate. Understand? Are you with me so far? So protection of assets. A family trust holds assets on behalf of the beneficiaries, shielding them from any claims that creditors might make against individual beneficiaries. If a beneficiary loses a lawsuit, for example, assets held in the trust cannot be seized for the benefit of a third party. Okay, well, here you are, you're looking at my domicile that's been stolen from me, and yet all the legal rules say you can't do that to me. You can't do that to anybody in Canada. You can't touch trust benefits. in Canada. You can't touch an inheritance in Canada. So why has my house been stolen? Well, we're going to get to that a little later. So it's a fiduciary definition, right? A legal duty to and loyalty and faithfulness towards another. Well, that would be the heart of my spouse towards me. He made sure I had a roof over my head for over 20 years. You think all of a sudden when he passes, that's his will and his love for me is going to change? Well, of course not. That's why he went and purchased a trust, to make sure I wouldn't be homeless. And I could benefit from everything he worked decades to have. And for 20 of those decades, right, he took care of me. And so in 2003, we purchased security in the district of Saanich. So again, here's more information about a trust is a legal arrangement when property is held for the benefit of someone. In other words, you entrust title to your assets to someone who is instructed to use and manage those assets per the terms of the trust document. If you set up a trust through your will, it's called a testamentary trust, since it's created through your last will and testament, right? We just learned that, right? And so any asset is sheltered from creditors, since the beneficiary never owned the asset because it's held inside the trust. So it's a classic and perfectly legal way of sheltering assets from creditors. So mortgage fraud. Well, homes are stolen. Homes are stolen, and in April of 2009, some persons pretending to be the BC Court of Appeal held that unless a mortgage is granted by the true owner of the property, the mortgage is invalid, and the owner's title has to be returned to the original state. So this is the state of title certificate, the last one that was created when my spouse was still here with me. It's March 14th, 2013. And so the state of title certificate has to be returned to this state. And I'm the one who decides when it's changed. And no one else gets to decide that. Because we've got fraudulent titles. We've had 2 fraudulent titles on my home since they stole it from me. Now I want you to look at this document right here, because I'm a woman with eyes that see and I'm a woman with ears that hear. So I'm the only one who's going to be looking at the documents. Okay, so here we've got my spouse has remortgaged the property after 10 years of ownership, right? You're remortgaging every 5 years, if that's what you're choosing to do. So at the end of January 2013, he's going in and he's remortgaging our property, and the principal amount is $175,000. That's what the mortgage is after 10 years of ownership, right? We bought that house for like $230,000 in 2003. Okay, so 10 years later, the mortgage is $175,000, and this is the last one that was created. Now, I want you to take a note that on this mortgage, no agent of CIBC signs the contract. Now, why is that? Do you know why? Because I do. They don't loan a dime on a mortgage. They don't loan a dime on any loan. They never sign it. Because the loan creates an asset for the bank and a debt for the borrower. The bank risks nothing. The bank risks losing nothing on a mortgage or on any loan. They have an insurance policy on every single loan, whether that loan is secured or unsecured. They have an insurance policy on all the loans. They loan nothing, they risk nothing. Right, it's a Ponzi scheme. It's a pyramid scheme. It's fraud from the beginning. Everything the bank does is fraud from the beginning, because what you'll notice is there's a BARf member. There's a BARf member signing this, con. And then my spouse has signed it. Yeah. Okay, so there was a personal line of credit that my spouse had attached to the property. So in the fall of 2017, because my spouse has passed away in May of 2017, he suddenly passed away, right, in May of 2017. Suddenly, he's gone, and my whole life has changed. So there's a personal line of credit. Righteous people are very simple people. Very simple people, okay? We're not all fucking wrapped up in the world and the bullshit of the world, okay? That's not how we live our lives. So there's one mortgage on our home, and there's a personal line of credit attached to the house, right? Secured by the house, basically. So in the fall of 2017, the agents of CIBC have this loan paid out. They apply to the insurance policy. They apply to the insurance company, and this loan, whatever amount that it's in, has been paid out. Now, I need you to notice the minimum monthly payment is under $130 on this line of credit. On a personal line of credit, the payment's under $130. This is important. So now we're looking at the trusteebc.ca information here, that it says that generally there's no obligation for anyone else to pay a past individual's debts unless they've co-signed or guaranteed the debt. Well, I haven't co-signed and I haven't guaranteed the personal line of credit. It's not my responsibility to pay it. Not once was I asked to pay that personal line of credit. That bill stopped coming to the house. And I was going in and out of the Broadmead CIBC branch every month after my spouse passed away to do my job and to take care of my job. And not once was I asked to pay. Not once. Not once did that bill come to the house after my spouse passed away. And they've paid it out in the fall of 2017. They've been paid out. So here now we're looking at my spouse's account. He's got one account with CIBC, one personal account. Right? And so he's passed away in May of 2017. So this is one of the last account statements that have come to the house. And yeah, this is right. I mean, it's exactly, John 7:7, right? The world cannot hate those from the world, but they hate us who aren't from here, because we're the ones who are testifying that the world is evil and those of the world are evil, and that's why I'm hated, right? Okay, so here's the mortgage payment coming out of the one account that my spouse has. There's the mortgage payment right there. It's $1,200, the mortgage payment, and there's also property tax sewn into that. So there's proof that there's one mortgage payment. The personal line of credit is not a mortgage. So how the fuck can there be a default on a mortgage that doesn't exist? So September 2018, my spouse is not the legal or lawful owner of any property, including the house that I showed you. So I'm not responsible to pay off the personal line of credit because the loan's only in my spouse's name. And you better fucking believe that the truth doesn't have versions. The truth is not a story. And if you've ever dealt with the pigs lately, the savages acting as law enforcement, they like to say stupid things like, tell me your side of the story. What? I don't have a fucking story to tell you. Okay? Stories are for liars. You got me? You fucking savages? Okay, here's the annual mortgage statement from 2014. Now, I'm showing you these because now I've told you that we've remortgaged at the end of January 2013, right? So now we're getting an annual mortgage statement. There's one mortgage listed on this annual mortgage statement. One. Here's the annual mortgage statement from 2015. Again, there's one. One mortgage on the property, one. And now here's the last mortgage statement that would have come in before my spouse passed away. So it's a 5-year fixed mortgage. Yep, right. So the maturity date is February 1st, 2018. My spouse has passed away in May of 2017. There's one mortgage payment. And there's 21 years and 2 months to pay still on a $175,000 mortgage. There's still another 21 years and 2 months to pay. And the regular principal payments and then the interest payments, well, I tell you what, I can't get into that with you because I'll fucking I'll go ham. And the fucking video will get striked. Because you don't even fucking understand. Okay, so interest is theft. Interest is a form of witchcraft. And only witches operate that way. Only the spawn of Satan operate that way. So there's one life insured mortgage on our property because if you can see here in the document here, he's paid over $2,000 for CIBC mortgage life insurance on our mortgage. My spouse is making that payment. And the personal line of credit is not a mortgage, and because if it was a mortgage, it would be listed here on the annual mortgage statement. So Now here's the issue, right? Now here is the letter I received at the end of August 2017 that the mortgage, because he purchased mortgage insurance, life insurance on the mortgage, that mortgage has been paid out. And let me inform you that every single mortgage payment, 21 years and 2 months worth of mortgage payments were paid to CIBC. It was more than the price that we originally paid for our property. They received $250,000 for doing absolutely nothing but acting like witches. So the house is now mortgage free, right? And it's held by the trust, which I've already explained to you, right? Because you have to understand, right, that there's one of two kinds here on the earth. There's my people, and then there's everybody else. There's my living people, my living peculiar people, and then there's children of the devil. And I know who they are because their fruit exposes them. And so exactly what my brother explains, Matthew 13:38, the field is the world, and the good seed are the children of the kingdom. And the tares, the weeds, the poisonous parasites, the profiteering pukes, they're children of the devil. That's, yes, exactly. He explains all of this in Matthew, okay? There's good trees and bad trees. He's talking about people and humans. The bad trees are the humans. The bad trees are the children of the devil. The good trees are the peculiar people. Do I really have to explain this? I mean, are you joking? Because now what I need to explain to you is the mind of the human. The mind of the human legally defined as monsters and freaks. Because everything that they do is backwards. Everything that they think is backwards. And I've dealt with this for decades. Right? To a child of the devil, evil is good and good is evil. To a child of the devil, justice is injustice. To a child of the devil, the truth is a lie. I deal with them constantly. To a child of the devil, the victim is the criminal. That's why I keep getting attacked by the spawn of Satan, pretending to be satanic Saanich law enforcement. They're children of the devil. And in the occult, that's called the occult law of reversal. That's exactly what they do. And you can go right ahead and read that, right? Because, these are beasts of Bedlam and Belial, and we're going to get into that. So here you've got testimony, you've got proof that mortgage-free properties are being targeted. And you've got $100 million across Canada in fraudulent mortgages. Okay, so who's pulling that off? Well, it would be BARf members and bankers. BARf members and fucking bankers are going around stealing property so they can increase profits by 25 to 40% annually. Yeah, don't think I don't do my homework, honey. I'm a teacher. I'm very fucking good at what I do. We learned that previously, didn't we? I think on page 2, right? So here we go. Here the satanic ritual abuse begins in September of 2018. The witches are going to commit another act of genocide against me and my family. They're going to slander, they're going to defame, they're going to defile, they're going to rape, they're going to murder, they're going to steal, they're going to destroy, and they've got names. Oh, fucking rights, they have names. So let's look at this fucking document filled with fucking lies. First of all, my spouse is not a mortgager. That's the first fucking lie, right? So this fucking puke has come to my home and not only trespassed on private property, but has criminally harassed me and assaulted me. And so we can see here, so the inspector, excuse me? You've attended my property on September the 28th, 2018, to find no one home. Well, skank, I was at home. And so how have you figured out that the house is fully furnished? And how have you figured out that there's recent mail addressed to the mortgagor if you haven't violated my right to privacy and committed outrageous acts of criminal offenses? And now you've decided that it's a 2-story detached house in good maintained condition. Okay, so what you need to understand about that is that I'm taking care of my property. So my spouse has been gone now for over a year, and the house is in good maintained condition. Yeah, you know why? Because I take care of my things. I've had the same vehicle for 30 years. Now, how do you think I've pulled that off? You think it's because I don't take care of my property? So this is a problem because this is when it starts. Now, here we go. Now, this is September 28th. This is a letter from a demon, from a profiteering predator. A profiteering predator is now looking for a mortgage-free home to steal. Right? This is a poisonous parasite. It's got a name here. And now let's watch this thing destroy itself in the first paragraph. We're going to watch this. I mean, this is the stupidest fucking shit I've ever read in my life. So we are the soulless savages for CIBC. Your loan is in default. Oh, really? Well, I don't have a loan with CIBC. What are you talking about? What? Excuse me, what? I don't have a loan with CIBC, so how can a loan that I don't have be in default? And how, then, if there's no loan, is the full amount due? And you're claiming you're going to steal $40,000. Oh, plus you're going to steal some more and you're going to call it interest. And the whole loan is due and payable now? Well, really? Interesting. Okay. And then this fucker buries itself even further. Automatic withdrawals from your account have been canceled. Really? Really? Okay, so what you're telling me is that there was automatic withdrawals coming out of an account, and now I showed you previously that there was not automatic withdrawals coming out of his account for that personal line of credit. There wasn't. There was one mortgage payment coming out. I showed it to you on the bank statement. I also showed you that personal line of credit was under $130 a month. So if there is automatic withdrawals coming out of an account, who the fuck gave you authorization to shut them off? And what you're then claiming is that how could the debt be due and payable? How could it go into default if there's automatic withdrawals coming out of an account? And there was money in that account. Do you see what I'm talking about here? Do you see the level of absolute fucking stupidity of these BARf members? This is a BARf member who's beginning an act of genocide. So I've been given 5 business days to pay $40,000 not owed. Or my house, all of my property, and the entire inheritance is going to be stolen by poisonous parasites and profiteering predators and demonic dangers to the public. And it's got a name. You can see the name there. And you can see the address there of this satanic cult company out of Kamloops. And the property isn't part of the estate. So what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, and here it is here. You see, because what's bent can't be made straight. And what's missing can't be supplied. And you can listen to a call that I made to that, this thing here, this demon. You can click on that link and you can hear me talking to this demon. So here's the personal line of credit again, right? So I'm not responsible for this personal line of credit, nor can those witches steal my interest private property. As once passed, my spouse owns nothing. He owned nothing when he created the trust fund. And that's the legal rules. And again, you can see that this payment is under $130. It's not a payment. It's not an automatic withdrawal payment coming out of any account. And not once was I asked to make this payment. Not once, because it's not my responsibility to make. It's not my loan. And yet in that letter I just showed you, well, in the first paragraph, we saw what happened, right? The fucking puke buried itself. And now one of the beneficiaries who hates me, both of them hate me, the other two, named. Well, this thing is liared up, right? It's went and gotten a BARf member. And the BARf member and this thing have decided they're going to extort me for money by claiming that I rent my home. No. And so this is an individual that I went to speak to after my spouse passed away because I'm in shock, right? Like, I'm in shock. You understand that? There's other things happening in my life that I'm not going to get into right now, but it's not going well for me, and I'm being attacked. I'm being stalked at work. I'm being attacked at work constantly, and now my spouse has suddenly passed away, and I am literally fucking reeling. I'm reeling. And so I don't know what's going on. I don't know what this... I just don't know, right, at that time. And so I've gone and talked to somebody, as I asked around town, and this individual, who was on his own at the time, was known for not being, your regular, average, everyday BARf member. And so this letter has been sent to a couple of extortionists, a couple of criminals here who are trying to extort me for money I don't owe, and he's making it absolutely clear that I'm not a tenant. I'm not a tenant in my house. And now that information is important because now we're going to look at a document filled with lies, which is perjury, right? Filed by a racketeering rat, a poisonous profiteer named MACK, anyway, lies. So, MACK, why are you talking to Jennifer Daly when Jennifer Daly has a liar you can talk to? Jennifer Daly has hired a BARf member, so you should be talking to the BARf member, not to Jennifer. And I'm not a tenant? So you're trying to claim that you didn't know I was a tenant when you started your fraudulent foreclosure proceeding, and yet you've all sent me a letter at my home at the end of September. So that's a lie. And then it puts in the trust, right? It puts in the trust in this affidavit, right, as one of the exhibits, as an Exhibit C. And I'm not identified as a tenant, and they have to put me on as a tenant because unless they add me as a tenant when I'm not a tenant, according to the Residential Tenancy Act, no court order of a foreclosure proceeding that affects the possession of a residential premises can be enforced against a tenant unless the tenant is joined as a party. So that's why they've added me to their act of genocide. I mean, they're fucking burying themselves. This is how absolutely fucking stupid and disgusting and vile these witches are. Legalese is a foreign language. It's only spoken by witches. It's only spoken by BARf members of the BARf. You have to be a witch to be called to the BARf. It's just like being a member of the Freemasonic fraternity. You have to be invited. You have to be invited to serve Satan. That's what they do. They're Satanists. They're children of the devil. They all are. They all talk the same language. They all do the same fucking thing: murder, steal, and destroy. Just like bankers. Just like politicians. They're all the same. You can use one fucking brush to paint them all the fucking same color because they are all the same color. Okay? Right? So here we go. So here Graham's Matt. Here's sworn affidavit Exhibit C. So the document can't be read as evidence, being purposely blacked out. So that's the trust. And they've blacked it out on purpose. So that's a criminal code of Canada violation. It's called fraudulent concealment. It's section 341. They've blacked it out on purpose because, listen, I refuse to associate with BARf members, so they were sending me all their satanic ritual abuse documents. That's exactly how I received the documents because that's exactly how they were fucking placed that's how they were filed into the whorehouse at 850 Burdett Avenue. And they've got faces. And here's one of their partners in crime here. Because you've had a BARf member and a soulless savage. That's what solicitor means. It means soulless snake. That's what solicitor means, for those of you who can't read between the lines. Yeah, see, so you've got literally over a handful of witches pretending to be Fulton and Company, aiding and abetting genocide. Listen to me, okay? Listen to me very carefully. Do you not understand Scripture? Do you not understand Scripture? Because you have to. You have to. It's important. Your life is written in the Scriptures. Your entire life and your name is written throughout the Scriptures, as is mine. And so why would my brother Isaiah say, all the tables are covered with vomit, and there's not a spot without their filth? Do you have any understanding at all? Because I do understand. That's one of my names. It's understanding. I got quite a few names, actually. Truth, understanding, might, wisdom, knowledge, truth. I mean, come on. Seriously. So you boast against me with your mouth and multiplied your words against me. Well, yeah, I'm afraid not only did I hear it, but the one who sent me here hears you too, because he don't sleep and he don't slumber. He knows exactly what you're doing, and he knows exactly why you're doing it to me, because in the Satanic Cult Court of British Columbia, here we go. Here's the petition to the court. They've got my spouse listed here. They've got the estate listed here, and they've got John Doe and Jane Doe. Are you fucking joking? They've listed, well, who the fuck are John Doe and Jane Doe? And those are supposed to be respondents. And none of them exist. None of them can respond, and that's how they're going to steal my house. And so what we have here is lawless fucking savages. Lawless savages. It is a crime to commit murder. That's what they're doing to me. It's a crime to circulate a false report. That's what they're doing to me. It's a crime to put your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. Well, you're going to see their names. You can't have anything to do with anything dishonest. And you don't go around murdering the innocent and the just, because my father never acquits the guilty. And I know you don't know him, but I do. I'm going to be practicing my culture all over these witches. You don't steal, you don't tell lies, and you don't cheat. And yet look what's happening here. Look what the fuck is going on here. You can So they're going to kick out John Doe and Jane Doe out of my house, claiming that they're tenants. And legal basis? Well, legal is witchcraft, utilized by witches and covens. And you should see the legal crap they're using here. They can't use any of it. And then you've got 2 witches here named, telling lies, committing genocide. You go ahead and look at their names. I'll put it in the description box, this document for you to go through. And here we go here. There's been a default in the mortgage. Really? Really? Fuck, I don't think so. No, I just proved to you that there is no default in the mortgage because there is no mortgage, and that personal line of credit is not a mortgage. So what are you doing? What are you doing? You're following the script. That's what you're doing. You're identifying yourselves. You have to follow the script. That's why you can't break me, and that's why you can't shake me. I know your fucking game before you even fucking play it. I know who you are. I know who you are. Yeah, gaslighting. The attempt of the wicked to overwrite the targeted victim's reality. Well, you can't do what you're doing to me to anybody in Canada, but you're gonna, because there's a different set of rules for me. You're fucking right, there's a different set of rules for me. You're fucking right, there's a different set of rules for me, and I'm gonna make sure I practice my culture all over you. The law will be fucking, yeah, the law's gonna be coming for you. I don't get to have an opinion about the law. It's eye for eye, tooth for tooth. What you do to me, I do to you. And I'm the prosecutor. That's my culture. Because only the victim of the crime can be the prosecutor, because they are the only ones with first-hand personal knowledge of the crime. I can't go say what happened to a BARf member and then have that BARf member go into the whorehouse. That's called hearsay, because the BARf member doesn't have first-hand personal knowledge. And they have to have it, don't they? Here we go. Look at this. November the 16th. So 2018. So this has been going on for years, right? 4 years this has been going on. 4 years, a satanic ritual. Satanic ritual has been going on to murder me for 4 years. Arrogance is their necklace and violence is their clothing. They mock and speak only evil. In their pride, they seek to crush the innocent. That's exactly what's happening to me. In the Satanic Cult Court of British Columbia, this is now twice in less than a decade, 2 acts of genocide. Lies, nothing but fucktardery, falsehood. CIBC and Fulton & Company are legally identified as persons, and persons represent the dead, death, and demons. That's why you never, ever stand under the status of a person. Because these fucking sewer rats can only deal in the dead because they are the dead. Kind can only deal with kind. You get me? And district registrar. Well, who the fuck are you? And you are going to identify yourself because you have aided and abetted an act of genocide. So you will be identifying yourself because the law applies to you too. And I read that to you at the beginning of this deposition. Oh, and here we have a witch here trying to fucking force probate to steal money because that's what the profiteering predators do. That's what the poisonous fucking parasites do. That's how they make profit. That's how they racketeer. No probate needs to be filed, so why are you trying to force a probate? Oh, that's right, that's how you make money. And you're also, you realize that they can't steal my house, and yet you're pretending like they can. And you can see this thing's name on the top of the letter. And so here we have Victoria Land Title Office, right? So you've got Graham Mack committing application and title fraud. And you've got Daniel Carroll guilty of application and title fraud on November the 27th, 2018. So that's the anniversary date. It's still November the 27th right now as I'm doing this presentation. So that's 4 years ago. They stole my house by application and title fraud, and that's exactly what they did. Now, instances of title fraud are still rare, but they're on the rise due to the soaring real estate prices in British Columbia. And as real estate prices increase, so does the size of mortgages potential exploiters can fraud. That's right. They can potentially exploit, by fraud, fraudulent mortgages. And so there have been 2 fraudulent mortgages on that property. November 27th, we've got an anniversary day today. Happy fucking anniversary, right? 4 years ago fucking today, these fucking pukes commit application and title fraud to steal my house. And I'm going to get nothing. So my brother Jeremiah, all you think about is how to cheat and abuse and murder. That's all these BARf members do all day, every day. My favorite Micah, those who devise ugly plans are as good as dead. You fucking rights. That's exactly right. Oh, and here we have another BARf member here. Another BARf member who is torturing me, assaulting me, trying to extort from me, criminally harassing me. And here we have, it's a citation issued by a witch regarding my spouse's estate, who, and the claim here is made that he has passed away on May 11th, 2016. Well, actually, that's a lie. That's a lie. And as we can see, the date of death down here is 2017. And so I was being criminally harassed on my property, continually and repeatedly, when some witch was trying to drop off and serve to me this citation to file a probate that doesn't need to be filed. And then there's a whole bunch of threats. There's a whole bunch of threats along with this citation. So I'll let you read that, right? Because how do you avoid probate in Canada? You set up a trust, and that's exactly what my spouse did. So why are they trying to force a probate? To steal money. To steal money. And now here, Sunday, November the 17th, that's a year later, 2019, I am letting Bradley Walker know. Bradley Walker knew that it was a fraudulent foreclosure, and I am letting Bradley Walker know that every person fraudulently attempting to buy or sell my house, they have to be provided with full disclosure of the indictable crimes, or they're going to be, well, they're going to be guilty, right? Like you're aiding and abetting. So everybody had to be notified that it was a fraudulent foreclosure and that my house can't be sold. And that's why I sent all these letters, to catch them all in their fucking lies and their evil and their ugly. And now here is me sending a text message to an Asian that I dated. And this is November 26th at 2019. So they're showing the house at 2:30 in the afternoon. They're showing my home November 26th, 2019. They're illegally, unlawfully showing my house. They're fucking violently assaulting me. They're violating my right to privacy. They're basically gang raping me. I'm being gang raped. And now look at this. 2 days later, we've got a fraudulent sale for $680,000. Now, I showed you before what our mortgage was in 2013. Our mortgage was $175,000. Now, you've got a fraudulent foreclosure, so there can be a $680,000 fraudulent mortgage on stolen property. And that's how these fucking beasts of Belial and Bedlam bankers increase profits by 25 to 40% annually. That's how they do it. This is exactly how they do it. This is why twice a week in Canada, a mortgage-free property is being stolen. So the first 2 to look at my house were the ones who purchased my house illegally and unlawfully because the house has been stolen by application and title fraud. And yet I was continually raped after this house was sold on November the 28th, 2019. They kept showing my property, and I stayed in the house every time they did because I knew what was happening to me. This is genocide. This is cruel and unusual. This is persecution to cause me to commit suicide, which I'm never going to do. So fucking good luck with that. I'll let you read page 56. Here are the 2 witches who aided and abetted this act of genocide. Here are registered mail packages. Now you can see the date of this registered mail package. This is the 28th of November, 2019. I'm sending registered mail packages that my house is being stolen. I sent it to David Eby, to Richard Fife, to the persons acting as the Lawless Society of BC, and the Chief Justice of BC, Melissa Gillespie, also got a registered mail package that my home was being stolen by way of application and title fraud. There was an act of genocide going on. And there was another registered mail package that also went out, and they were all signed for, so they received them all. And yet, none of these witches stepped in to stop the act of genocide and the act of hate and the act of murder. So they're all aiding and abetting. So get this is just fucking hilarious. New BC law to target source of luxury wealth and money laundering crackdown. You have to be fucking joking. What a fucking joke. What a joke. So here's this thing here. This is a poisonous politician here who is a member of the BARf. It's been called the BARf, right? Because it's a BARf. Why does Freemasonic Fiction BC need Fiction Ottawa to step up in money laundering fight, David Eby? Because all the proof is that you RICO poisonous politician parasites and BC Supreme joke corrupt coven court criminals and BARf members are behind all the crime and money laundering in BC. So you're really hypocrites is what you are. You're hypocrites. Because you knew, and I have proof that you knew. I've got nothing but proof. I do a lot of work. As exhausted as I am, as fucking wiped out as I am, I'm still gonna fucking come at you like a fucking freight train, motherfucker. You can't be the fucking pimp premier. You're a criminal. You need to go to fucking jail for the rest of your life for aiding and abetting genocide. You're a joke. You knew, and I got proof that you knew. Oh, okay, so... Now here is something interesting. So Thursday, November 28th, 2019, my home is stolen. I just showed you that information. So 13 business days later, on December the 17th, there's an application to the BC Supreme Cursed Court. Before they take weeks off for this fucking satanic ritual that goes on every December 25th, right? You have to have weeks off to perform the satanic ritual, right? It's a heli day. It's pagan. Completely pagan. Has nothing to do with life, and life more abundantly, by the way, for those of you who don't fucking understand anything. So you can see on the document here, order granted as per the form attached to the notice of application filed December the 17th, 2019. Well, that's to do with November 28th when they've stolen the house and sold it to two Asians. Because this is from January the 15th, 2020. This was after the break was over, right? An agent for CIBC is going in and continuing to perform the act of genocide. And by the way, so here's the transcript from that. And now there's a problem because now I've filed the notice of civil claim. In January, the beginning of January, I have filed a notice of civil claim to stop all these acts of genocide and to have my family made whole with what's due. And now there's a problem, right? Now there's a fucking huge problem. Because now I'm coming at them with the truth, and they hate that. So you should read this. It's the January 5th, 2020. Here we go. And so this is this thing named Peter Neely. And here is, so these two are guilty of genocide. And here's their faces and here's their names. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, that's what's going on here. Well, so November 28th, right, they've sold that house to put a fraudulent mortgage on it for $680,000. Really? Really? Okay. So, January the 15th, there's a knock on the door. There's a pounding on the door, and it's this monster right here, with this letter in its hand. Did you read the letter? As you're aware, we are the soulless savages for the criminal organization CIBC. On January the 15th, a coven of corruption approved the theft of your interest private property to two Asian abominations with a completion date of less than 2 weeks later. You couldn't do that to anybody. You can't do that to anybody. So the order approving sale directs that you deliver up vacant possession of the subject property in less than 2 weeks. And failure to do so is going to result in the issuance of a writ of possession, which directs criminals to remove you and your personal belongings from your stolen property and to seize, and we're going to steal your personal property to commit our act of genocide against you. And then they've enclosed a draft copy of the act of genocide order, stealing my home. How do you like them apples? Well, so now I've got to fight, right? Now I've got to fight. Now I've got to fucking go in there to the whorehouse. And there's rules, eh? These witches have rules to follow. So I'll let you read this. There are rules that they have to follow. Highlights of the principles include access to justice for people like myself requires all aspects of the court process to be, as much as possible, open, transparent, clearly defined, civil, convenient, and accommodating. It's none of that. It's fucking none of that. It's a fucking circular fucking go nowhere of fucking satanic ritual abuse. The entire fucking system. Because it's been set up by fucking snakes. It's been set up by fucking Walking Dead zombies who make fucking money by billable hours. So BARf members and court administrators have to do whatever is possible to provide fair and impartial process and prevent an unfair disadvantage. Well, that never happened. People like me should not be denied relief on the basis of a minor or easily rectifiable deficiency in the matter. BARf members have a responsibility to inquire whether I'm aware of the procedural options and to direct to available information. If not, depending on circumstances and the nature of the case, the BARf member has to explain the relevant law in the case and the implications before the individual can make critical choices. BARf members should ensure that procedural and evidentiary rules are not used to unjustly hinder the legal interests of somebody like me. Well, I tell you what, none of that happened. Death penalty offenses for witches, idolaters, and blasphemers. So my brother explained that blasphemy is unforgivable. You can find that in Numbers 5:6 and Leviticus 24:13. You know, because you have to realize you need 2 or 3 witnesses to establish the truth. So here's a bunch more information about... So apparently these BARf members, pretending to be the Supreme Court of Canada, affirmed the protection of a woman like myself. Yeah, no, I don't think so. So they're supposed to explain the process, inquire whether both parties understand the process and the procedure, make referrals to agencies able to assist in the preparation, provide information about law and evidentiary requirement, modify the traditional order of taking evidence, and question witnesses. So here we go. We got the rule of law, right to effective access. Nope. BARf members, pretending to be the Supreme Court of Canada, affirm access to justice and freedom of expression. Well, nope, that doesn't happen either. But what I can tell you is that my brother Isaiah absolutely nailed it. Because this is exactly what happens every time I go in there. And I never hire a BARf member. Because I'm not dead. Only the dead need to hire a BARf member. Only persons need to hire a BARf member. Only incompetent ignorants need to hire a BARf member. Yeah, I'm afraid. Have you not done any research? This is the age of information. You know, you should really pull your head out. So people take each other to court unfairly. And no one tells the truth in arguing. Well, if you're arguing, you already got a fucking problem. Because you already got a witch in the room if there's argument going on. They accuse each other falsely and tell lies. Okay, so that's witchcraft. They cause trouble and create evil, so those are witches. They hatch evil like eggs from poisonous snakes. Well, a slimy snake solicitor. That's why they're called solicitors. If you eat one of the eggs, you're going to die. Well, yeah, because I'm a Levite. I'm not allowed to have anything to do with the dead. The dead are toxic, man. The dead are poisonous. If you break one open, a poisonous snake comes out. Again, are you not reading this? BARf members tell lies as they would spin a spider's web. So I'm prey. These are fucking predators and I'm prey. Because I'm smarter than they are, and that's why they're trying to murder me. The witches' webs they make cannot be used for clothes. How much information do you have on hell? Nobody in hell has clothing on. Everybody in hell is naked. Listen to me, your character is your clothing. You can't cover yourselves with the webs. Again, this is referring to hell. The things BARf members do are evil. BARf members use their hands to they use their hooves to hurt others. BARf members eagerly run to do evil. The witches are always ready to murder innocents. BARf members think evil thoughts. Everywhere a BARf member goes, they cause ruin and destruction. BARf members don't know how to live in peace, and there's no fairness in their lives. This is also talking about politicians and police. What does police mean? Poly means many. C stands for cursed, and E stands for evildoer. It's a brotherhood, man. It's a brotherhood of fucking Freemasonic fucktardery. Anyone who lives as they live will never have peace. Well, I have a right to peaceful assembly here. I've read that to you before. You're going to hit this affidavit, notice of, you're going to hit this and you're going to read it. Because you don't think I didn't do my homework when I went in there. So now I'm going in there at the end of January and I'm like, you can't steal my house. And they're like, yeah, we're just going to dismiss and deny all that truth and all those legal rules that apply to everybody else. But apparently they're not going to apply to you. So we're just going to stand here. We're going to spin you for 2 fucking hours. Fuckface demon Daniel Carroll showed up with a 15 fucking pound binder. Demon Daniel Cursed Carroll showed up in that whorehouse with a 15 fucking pound binder full of fucking bullshit to steal my house. And Masahara fucking lapped all the vomit up like the dog that it is. It's all on the record. I'm going to go get the record. I'm going to put it up on social media. Oh, here we go. Yep. Here it is. A moral abomination itself. There's its face. Oh, okay, so here's what else you need to understand. So during that satanic ritual at the end of January there, the arrogant, amoral abomination, Masahara, steals the entire estate. We're going to pay it in court. Okay, so you understand why, right? So the amount that they're stealing is $40,000 that they're not owed. And the only way they can get the $40,000 is if they steal the entire estate, because I'm not going to pay them. I don't have to pay them. So that's why they need to steal the estate, so they can steal the $40,000. And not only that, the closing costs are the same amount that they're stealing. And the closing costs belong to the homeowner. Well, CIBC stole the house. So if they give me the liquid assets from the theft of my property, they haven't made any profit. They haven't made any fucking profit if they cover their closing costs on the fucking theft of my home. And you can't have that when you're a fucking puke-faced banker. When you're a fucking bar fucking banker, you need to fucking make sure you're making as much fucking money by fraud as fucking possible. So they stole $100,000 of an estate. That's how they increase profits by 25 to 40% every year. Well, there's the document right there. You go ahead and read it for yourself, right? Because I'm having symptoms of being poisoned. I'm being poisoned to death. These are the dead. They're poisoning me. I'm not allowed to be around the dead. Have you read anything about the Levites? There's very specific rules for us. Very specific rules. We're not allowed to be around the dead. So you go ahead and read that. There's also a document there because I went to appeal. So after I got gang raped by the 2 witches at the end of January, Masahara and CARROLL, after that satanic ritual went down, I went and I filed an appeal of the January 15th satanic ritual, which is exactly what I should have done. And I wasn't allowed to do that either, and this is the face of the witch who wouldn't allow me to do that. We're going to be listening to that witch when I pick up the record, which I'll be seizing here shortly. So then, I've got one more thing to do, and that's an injunction. I have to file an injunction. I have to stop this. And, you know, they're not treating me fairly. And they know all the legal rules, and they know what they're doing. They absolutely know what they're doing. They're fully aware that they're committing crime. They have criminal minds. They have criminal minds to commit genocide and steal my house. And by the way, this is all about money laundering. This has everything to do with money laundering. So then I go in at the end of February, right? Because they gave me a 30-day extension at the end of January. That's the only thing that came out of the satanic ritual at the end of January, that I had another 30 days in my home, and I have no money to move. And they've done that to me on purpose. So I go and I apply for an injunction, a without notice injunction. So the witches acting as agents for CIBC shouldn't have even been there. But they're there. There's 2 witches there in the room that day. And this fucking rancid rat, Joker Johnston. Well, I'm going to get the record and we're going to listen to that together. So you'll have to hit on these documents because those are the injunction applications. So the Joker Johnston was supposed to be seized to the application. They wouldn't let me speak. They did it on purpose. And so they're committing genocide. And that's a public service agency. And those conversations are not private. Those are public conversations. That's why they record them. That's why they're on the record. So there was hate speech spoken. Hate speech. Every time I went in there, I was leveled with hate speech. And genocide, well, you're going to prison for life because that's exactly what you've committed. And that's twice in less than a decade against me and my family. So then the next day, there's one more day, and I go in there again, and there's a witch named Murray. And Witch Bailey. Witch Murray and Witch Bailey, again, dismiss and deny my right to have an injunction granted. So they can steal the house. And here they are here. You can look at their faces right there. You know, because fraud unravels everything. Fraud unravels everything. Fraud unravels everything. And if you can prove fraud, everything it's vitiated. It's null and void. You can't do anything with it. So I'll let you read that, right? Because you have to prove why you have to be granted an injunction, and one of them is that I was going to suffer irreparable harm that can't be compensated in damages. Well, then that's exactly what happened. Right? So anyway, you can read page 80. You go right ahead. So the type of harm which no monetary compensation can cure or put conditions back the way they were. Well, I had that right because that's trust. The property's a trust. It's in the trust. And it was to remain the way my spouse left it when he passed. Because that's what I chose. And that was my right to choose. And the property's been completely destroyed. And most of my sentimental personal chattel's been stolen by 2 Asian abominations. So you can read page 81. I'm not going to read it to you. Well, consistently, my experience with persons acting as the court, they admit to not read and review applications, affidavits, and documents. Well, I would ask them if they've read what they're adjudicating, and they come right out and were quite happy to tell me no. They don't need to read any of that. The decision's already been made. So if a man or woman is forced into the corrupt court for reasons they're engaged in war by liars and profiteering billion-dollar corporations care nothing about others, the victim must read what's going on, right? I had to know what was happening in there to have truth on the record, because the court hates to listen to righteous members of the community being destroyed. Those acting as the court demand respect yet show no respect. They demand all know the law yet are ignorant of the law. They demand no abusive process yet are 100% guilty of abusive process. Victims seeking remedy and restoration, bringing claim of right, justice, and truth into the court are brutally abused, defamed by their claim, being without merit, scandalous, frivolous, and vexatious, when truth is persons acting as the court are those who are without merit, scandalous, frivolous, and vexatious. The definition of hypocrisy. For lawless court clowns, justice is injustice, truth is a lie, and a lie is the truth. Yeah, pretty much. And now here's a letter on February 27th that, well, the satanic ritual abuse will continue. And the 2 witches, Bailey and LeBlanc, pulled out all the stops to be as ugly and evil to me as possible. And you can read those letters. So coincidence, well, that's an explanation used by fools and liars, right? Because it's my job to get to the bottom of what's going on here. And that's the kind of personality that I have. INFJ personality. Because, I mean, what's going on here, right? Coincidence, there's no such thing. there is no such thing. Because take a look at the writ of possession. Take a fucking look at this writ of possession. The registrar signs it belly, and that's not a signature, by the way. It's in quote, belly. Are you fucking joking? And sheriff to the sheriff? Really? You're going to hit those bit shoots, and you're going to watch them. And there's a playlist there. So the Commonwealth Crown is a satanic cult. Agents of the Crown are degenerate demons of destruction. The Commonwealth coat of arms represents Satan and hell, because you realize that the Windsors and the Wales, right? They're druid witches. That's exactly who they are. You can't even read the signature by the court registrar. You can't read it. You can't make out which person acting as the registrar signed this act of genocide order. Directives to bankers, right? So let's go into belly. BARf members and bankers are degenerate demons, witches guilty of murder, theft, and destruction. Belial is the demon of lawlessness and the ruler of the world. Belial is the patron of secrets, domination, and seduction. Well, that's who signed the court order, right? That's who signed the order to commit genocide. Belial's name means worthless in Hebrew. Well, punch in Belial into a Bible Hub search engine and see what comes up, because I've already taught this lesson to y'all. Well, Satan is the ruler of evil. Belial is the predecessor, right? Belly signed the desk order. Belly did, right? Lord of arrogance, Lord of pride, without master, corrupt gains. Fuck. There you go. Consorts, witches. Well, that's who BARf members are. So the Belial, they're the wicked, right? And they're useless. And it's written repeatedly throughout your scripture. Belly, worthless persons, right? 27 times. Belial is worthless. Uselessness, wickedness, they're good for nothing. Savages who the King of Kings designates as worthless because they continually resist the way, the truth, and the life. They're Satanists. Go ahead and read it, right? I'm sorry, but they're born this way. There's nothing you can do for them. That's the, you can't get around the truth. I'm so sorry for you. The children of the devil are born that way. Born that way, right? They're witches, right? You're rebellion against the truth. You identify yourself as a witch. Now, my brother made mention of this when he was here, that anybody who wouldn't seek the truth had to be put to death. He don't care who the fuck you are. So the King of Kings sees all your witchcraft. Everything that you've done to me to destroy my life, he's seen it all. Again, right? The same thing is being said through every single generation. Hit the blue link. The wicked hate the righteous. That's why this is happening to me. The profile of the wicked, right? They're proud. Yep. BARf members. Those who were called to be Freemasons. Those are your politicians. They're your priests. They're your police. Yeah, I'm afraid that's who they are. Are you not aware of those around you? You're not aware of the fruit of a rotten root? I am. I'm an expert on them. And by the way, common law supersedes all legal fiction. That's the rules for a legitimate court. And the living are the ones in authority here. I'm a woman, okay? I have authority over the human. I'm one of the living. I have authority over the dead. My brother taught you all that when he was here 2,000 years ago. Foul-mouthed. Yeah, fucking right. It's everything out of their mouth is lies. Greedy. Yep. Well, Freemasons, right? Wiccans, Luciferians, Satanists. That's children of the devil. They just go by, there's a million different titles for them. They're violent. Spawn of Belial, right? The spawn of sinners are abominable savages. It's scripture. It's scripture. Vile. What does vile mean? Well, you go ahead and read it, right? Because the righteous care about justice for the poor. But the spawn of Belial, not interested. Isn't that right, Johnny Van Camp? Isn't that right, Robert Punnett? Isn't that right, Carolyn Book? Rebecca Watmont? Isn't that right? Yeah, you've identified yourselves. Vile behavior. The wicked are useless, right? You're supposed to be learning to do good. You're supposed to be seeking justice. You're supposed to be correcting the oppressor, defending the fatherless, and pleading for the widow. None of that's happening. None of it. You know, because after they stole all the money, I went twice to get money. And I was basically told to go fuck myself by 2 different witches. You can read about that right there. I do a lot of writing. It's important that you go in and you hit these documents and you read what went on. To learn the level of absolute evil and witchcraft that's being practiced by these BARf members. Members of the BARf. Here's a coven of witches who tried to force probate on the estate. And because I refuse to file the probate because I know I don't need to, I've been told repeatedly that the liquid I'm never going to get the inheritance ever. But I don't want it, right? That's my house and I'm going to get my house back. So here's the definition of genocide. And you can go ahead and read page 102. So we've already established in 2009 in another matter that the BARf members found that under the Act, a mortgage granted by those who obtained their title by fraud was invalid. And the Act preserves the Latin term for no one can give what they do not have. So even where a mortgage has relied on a registered title and dealt bona fide with a non-fictitious registered owner, a mortgagee does not acquire any estate or interest in the lands on registration of their mortgage, or they've been granted by a person who had no valid interest in the land, and such mortgages are void. So the first 2 Asians never had a valid mortgage on the home. And now the second 2 don't either. Right? Because you can see their names right here. They're not Caucasian. Those aren't Caucasians. They're Asian. So here's a whole bunch of information about money laundering. Whole bunch of information about money laundering on what's going on here, because the theft of my house was to facilitate money laundering. And here's a bunch more information about all the money laundering going on through BC real estate. You can read that. And now here is the second invalid mortgage held by Scotiabank on my property. And you can go in and visit this video here. Real estate agents caught breaking the law on hidden camera. Well, you've had 4 different real estate agents make money by fraud and create documents that they have no legal right to create, so they have to go to jail. So November the 28th, 2020, 1 year after they purchased the house by fraud, the 2 Asians, get this, they've purchased the house for $680,000, but they've listed it for $860,000. So what you can determine by that listing price is they have invested about $200,000 into the property that they never owned, but they're accepting $749,000. Because them getting into that property was never about flipping the property for profit. It was about laundering $750,000, and that's exactly what they were given opportunity to do by the fraudulent foreclosure. Or because there's only one identifiable group in the province laundering money, and they are them. So 13 business days after November 28th, 13 business days later, you've got a fraudulent land title application to register my stolen property. Last name how? 3-letter last name. Do research on surnames. That's more than likely an Asian. And they're using my stolen property to make themselves passive income because, as you can see here, it's assignment of rents. So they've turned my single-family dwelling into a commercial property. And they've known for the last year, because last year at this time, I went and I told them that that's stolen property, and they're being protected by the witches, by the Freemasonic fucktards, acting as police. Victoria Police and Saanich Police. Many cursed evildoers are protecting criminals in illegal possession of my stolen property while I remain homeless and destitute. And nobody fucking cares. Mortgage fraud caught on camera. There you go. How much evidence do you need? In April, I called Scotiabank and I set them up, because Scotiabank hasn't lent these last 2 a dime on their mortgage. They haven't lent a dime. The $749,000 mortgage on my stolen property, Scotiabank hasn't lent them a dime, and isn't it fucking telling that Scotiabank and CIBC are the same thing? Is that telling her what? So here's all the phone calls I've made. There's 18 of them. Go in there and hit them and listen to what's going on. Here's the Banking Act. The Babylonian bullshitters have the capacity of a natural person. Oh, that's hilarious. Well, because a person is always a thing. A person is always dead, and it represents the dead. So now it's, instead of it's an artificial dead thing, now it's a natural dead thing. This is how fucking stupid these BARf members are. And here's all this fucking lies about how wonderful CIBC is. It's all about CIBC, all about how our vision and values is to be a leader in client relationships, yeah? Well, you go in and you listen to that fucking phone call. Let's see here. I highlighted it. It's the number 11 here. You go listen to how this puke Corey Lamont spoke to me. Because all this bullshit that they wrote down, it's all lies. It's all lies. Oh, we are dedicated to supporting the sustainable development goals. Oh, we're going to fight inequality and injustice and eradicate poverty. That's why you fucking stole my house and embezzled all the money? Forcing me into fucking prostitution against my will? You're fucking hypocrites. You're complete fucking liars. Oh, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Lie. Lie, fucking lie. It's all fucking lies. Check this out. They've been ordered to pay $5.6 million because they lie all the time. Oh, they blocked me. They blocked me on social media. That's a fucking hate crime. Oh, everyone has the right to be treated fairly with decency and respect and to feel safe and secure when they come and interact with us. What a fucking lie. What a fucking lie. These fucking pukes have called the fucking police on me fucking multiple times and had me fucking violated by these pigs. What a fucking joke. Oh, here we go. It gets better. Check this out. So you understand about October, right? Season of the Witch, October. You ever heard of the 13 days of Samhain? October the 13th to 31st are 13 days of Samhain. Go look it up. Go learn it for yourself. Okay, so here we've got, in 2021, we've got the posting of $6.7 billion in profit. In 2020, we had we had $4.4 billion in profit. So in those 2 years alone, you've got $11 billion in profit, made all by fraud. All made by fraud. Everything that they do is fraud. Right? And there's proof everywhere that these fucking CIBC agents are fucking criminals. Criminals. Here's fucking more proof for you that they're fucking criminals. Here you go. Right? So in 2 years, they've been fined 7 figures for being fucking frauds, for being crooks, for not giving a fuck about clients. Oh, here we go. You say you're rich and you have well stored up and you need nothing. Well, I tell you what, dude. What you don't know is that you're a wretched creature. You're despicable, you're poor, you're blind, and you're naked. And here's the tallest hog at the trough. Here's the tallest hog at the trough. Isn't that right, Victor? Oh, and here's another hog at the trough. What do you do all day? Because you can't serve 2 masters. You can't serve 2 masters. I'm afraid not. No. And here's another one. Yeah, so what they've done is they've absolutely defamed my righteous partner's character by claiming he lost his house because of bankruptcy, because of non-payment. So you've completely destroyed the legacy of a righteous man who worked for the same company for 50 years and never once missed a bill payment. That's a death penalty offense where I come from. Slander is murder for those of you who don't understand anything. Right, so interference with economic interests. Well, there you go. There's just some of what they're guilty of. And here's in one of the other sewer rats. Well, here's a judgment that they're going to be paying. So they're going to be fucking paying it. And if for those of you who don't understand what Canada is, the rest of the document is about Canada and about what it really is. So if you don't understand why they use the symbols that they use, why they use the flags that they use, you need to go in here and read this, right? You need to go through this information because you need to understand. Right? When you represent the beast, more than likely it's because you are one of the beasts. To represent the whore of Babylon, you got to be part of the problem, not part of the solution. And these are evildoers, like just disgusting and evil. I'll let you go in and read it, okay? I've been on here for quite some time. All the truth is here for you to read. right? Yeah, they have masters in court. Well, that's in relation to Freemasons. They're Freemasons, right? It's a witch. It's a witch. So, I mean, it's a witch. I'm sorry, you have witches pretending to be the court. Witches, they're witches. So you really need to go in here and watch Common Law Part 2, because it's going to provide for you the second witness of the memes that you're seeing throughout this document, and who it is that runs the country, and why it is that you need to correct your status. Okay, because these are witches using sigil magic, right? That's why they use logos. It's all idolatry. All of it's idolatry. And it's all forbidden. Right? Hit all the links, my God. Learn the truth. Learn the truth, because the truth is all written down in the scripture for all of you. Right? You should not be ignorant of the truth. The crown represents the lion, and that's the devil. That's what the crown represents, hell and the devil. I'm so sorry for you, but that is the truth of the matter. Right? And it's all written down in scripture. It's all written down in scripture, right? So you're going to need to hit the Diary of Jokers and Injustice. So Scotland's a Commonwealth country, right? Someone's done a lot of work. Someone's done a lot of work to put that information together for you, so you can understand the level of evil that is the court. Look at these fucking witches. Look at these witches. So Melissa Gillespie knew the house was being stolen and she didn't care. She could have cared less. They pretend like they can't understand you, right? Because they're the dead. And when you're the living and you're trying to explain the truth to the dead, well, they have to make claim of their status of being the dead. What are they wearing? Well, you better find out what they're wearing, because I know what they're wearing and I know why they're wearing it, and you should know too. So there's proof everywhere that Freemasons control the justice system. They control everything. Satanists control everything. Witches performing witchcraft every day, all day, are running everything. That's a problem. Why is this thing wearing red, white, and black? Why is this thing wearing red, white, and black? Well, I explain it to you. Right? It all relates back to the same thing. Again, I do all this work. I do all this work to teach you the truth, and it's your responsibility to go and learn the truth. I don't do all this work for myself. I know the truth. I'm from the truth. And I'm being murdered. You're listening to a woman being murdered right now. A year after I went to the police and I've said to them, my home is being stolen and you need to start an investigation. This is about money laundering. I'm relentlessly attacked. Repeatedly. That's how witches act. That's how witches think. And a lie doesn't become the truth, and wrong doesn't become right, and evil doesn't become good, because you've all accepted it. What happens to one of us is the business of all of us. And if they've done this to me, they're going to do it to you. Or maybe they're going to do it to someone you love. Boy, that's really disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourselves. You should be fucking just ashamed of yourselves. Because how can this go on, and why am I the only one fighting? Why am I the only one fighting and doing something about this? Because I'm about to write up a writ of possessions. I'm about to take orders, court orders, King's Common Law High Court orders, and I'm going to be served according to my culture. And there's going to be, well, the trash is going to have to take itself out. They either agree to plead guilty to genocide and agree to spend the rest of their lives in jail. That's option number 1. Or option number 2 is medical assistance in dying. It's a wonderful service here in Canada for the trash to take itself out. I don't care who the fuck you are. I'm serious. And neither does the King of Kings. Your fucking titles and your labels